Hello, everybody, and welcome to this presentation today. I'm going to start sharing my screen right now. When I find the right screen, here it is. So my name is Dr. Kat Wegener. I'm a holistic doctor of pharmacy, a homeopath, an herbalist, a yoga and breathworks teacher, and also meditation teacher and an energy healer. And for a very long time, I believe that we can heal ourselves if we have the right environment, if we have the right energy going on, the right vibration. And that's where we are going to get into today as well, together with Avini. And first of all, I want to take a look together with you guys into the situation today and also how we got here from about 1950, 1960, the time, to today, 2024. Where did modern medicine take us? And I like to start with this slide because, or with this diagram from statistica.com. It's very important to understand that in 1960, we had basically no prescription drugs in a chronic way prescribed. It started, the whole thing with chronic prescription started actually with the contraception, with the pill, with the anti-baby pill. There was the first prescription drug that was prescribed over a long period of time. And then, of course, other things followed, like blood pressure and many others, blood pressure. Nowadays, we also have a lot of mental health medication. We have so much. We have the for cholesterol and so many things. So many people on many different prescription drugs. And you can see in the expenditure, it went from basically zero to $400 billion US dollars per year in 2022. And I'm pretty sure we are not down from that, but actually up. What did that do to our health? Let's look at that, if that improved our health. What it did, it expanded our lifespan from average 65.6 years in 1950 to 79 years in 2022. But what it didn't expand is the health span. It actually decreased a little bit to only 63 years. So we have this gap, or we had this gap in 2022 of 16 years between the health and the lifespan. That means that the average American lives their last 16 years in poor health, which is pretty sad. We all strive for a long and healthy and happy life, right? So it's really not a good outlook to spend a pretty big part of our life, or the life we want to enjoy, maybe in retirement with our grandchildren, and have good health and be with them and enjoy these years, right? So let's see why is this 16 years gap? So the prescription drugs, they don't target the root cause. They target a symptom, right? So it's a little bit like we put a bandage on a problem, but we don't heal the problem, right? So it keeps us alive, but it doesn't keep us in good health. An example probably everybody knows is a drug for diabetes, Ozempic, which also helps people lose weight. But as soon as they get off the drug, they gain the weight. And the problem is gain the weight back. And the problem is the weight they lose, they don't just lose fat, they also lose muscle mass. But the weight they gain back after they get off of Ozempic is only fat. So we actually lose muscle mass in this cycle. That's why the doctors want people to stay on Ozempic, which of course has side effects and not just positive effects, right? So where we are going to get into, or what we are going to get into today, is what if you knew the underlying cause of most of our problems, if not all of our problems, and what if there was an easy, safe, and effective way to address that cause? Would that be interesting? Can I see a few hands? Thank you. Yes. So there is a big problem. We live in a really toxic world. I have always been interested in environmental protection since I was a teenager. And even back then, which is quite a while ago, I saw the impact we humans have been doing for a long time to the environment. And I remember I saw this picture at some point years and years ago from the Indians here in America who said that we live as if there was another Earth, right? And it's really like that. It's like our environment is so toxic, and yes, it's making us sick, and we are all toxic too. Kelly, would you read that for me so people can listen to something else than to my accent?
Sure. Every time we breathe, eat, drink, wash, exercise, get dressed, go to work, or climb into bed, we expose ourselves to potentially harmful substances, air pollutants, synthetic chemicals, contaminated food and water, radiation, pharmaceuticals, alcohol, noise, microplastics, and microisms, to name but a few.
Oh, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Sounds like a lot. Let's see where this comes from, where we get how we get that into our bodies. It's really everywhere. It's in our non-sticky cookware. The heavy metals and the chemicals are in our drinking water. Plastic bottles, most of the plastic bottles have BPA, some don't, but they have other chemicals. They come through the plastic bottles into our system. We ingest every week 5 grams of microplastic. 5 grams is the equivalent to a debit or credit card, the amount of plastic in one card. That's pretty shocking, isn't it? Together with all the chemicals that are inside the plastic. It's in the weed killers, the pesticides. It's in our mercury amalgam dental fillings, in the car exhaust, air pollution. If rockets or even fireworks, all this has a lot of pollutants. I just named the BPAs, the phthalates and perfumes from shampoos and lotions. We get it through our skin. It's in artificial sweeteners, it's food coloring, and we have a lot of those, especially in this country here, in preservatives and artificial flavoring. It's in our cosmetics. Looks nice, right? Looks scary, and it is scary, actually. The number is shocking. Over 86,000 environmental toxins are there. The EPA has had the power to regulate harmful chemicals under the Toxic Substances Control Act, TSCA, since 1976, but it has only banned 9 of the 86,000 environmental toxins. Some of those are heavy metals. You all know them. It's arsenic, mercury, nickel, cadmium, and many others. And of course, the chemicals like PFAS, which are the forever chemicals, pesticides, herbicides. Many of them are endocrine disrupting chemicals, the microplastic, and the volatile organic compounds. That's every smell that's not natural, right? And all these detergents, for example, right? If you don't have an organic natural detergent, whatever you smell, it's something's chemical, and you can be sure it's not healthy. 4 billion pounds of toxic chemicals are released into the environment yearly, including 72 million pounds of known carcinogens. And they're in all our food. They're in the rice, in fish, fruit juice, leafy greens, all kinds of heavy metals and chemicals. And of course, the arsenic has always been in rice. And it wouldn't be a problem if we just ate a little bit of rice every day and everything else was safe. But we get it from the rice, from the fish, from the fruit juice, from the leafy greens, from the air, from everywhere. So it's just adding up and adding up. And what we also need to know is that all these companies who blow out chemicals and pests and toxins into the environment, they have levels, and they have to stay under a certain level, which they do. They have to by law. But yeah, it's not just this one company. There's the next one and the other one, and all this adds up and gets us into a situation where we just get all these toxins into our bodies. It's in baby food. And trust me, for the growing organism, it's even worse than for us adults. It's in protein powders and spices and bone broth. And that's just a few examples. It's really everywhere. Yeah, I have a short here for you guys. I hope you can hear that.
We live in a toxic world everywhere, but the situation in the US is even more dire than in many other places. The shocking truth about US Quaker oatmeal. Can you guess which breakfast is healthier? In the next few seconds, let's compare US and UK berries oatmeal. The US version has over 30 ingredients. Many of them are not just unnecessary, but unhealthy or even toxic. It includes artificial flavors and colors like red 40 and artificial strawberry flavor. You'll also find sodium sulfite, palm oils, high in saturated fat, and several additives. Now let's look at the UK version. It features Quaker whole grain rolled oats as the main of the only 8 ingredients. No artificial flavors or colors in sight. Real dried strawberries instead. The focus is on natural ingredients and simplicity. Clearly, the UK's option leans towards a more natural and healthier approach. The choice would be clear and easy if we had one.
Yeah, that's this. It's really a lot about, even if we have a solution on which we have to remove toxins, it's also important to know we got to get aware of the food we eat, and staying away from ultra processed food is definitely a good idea. So here are the forever chemicals, PFAS. They have the name forever chemicals because they are not going to get metabolized. They are not going to get changed. They stay in our system. They come into our body through various sources. You see it on the left side. It's in candy wrappers, shampoo. It's in water-resistant clothing. It's in makeup, pizza boxes, cleaning products. You can see it yourself. It's coming from everywhere. It does a lot of damage to our body. It can lead to thyroid disease, increased cholesterol levels, breast cancer, liver damage, and so much more. And again, the impact on the unborn child or young kids is even more because they're growing. And that's why it has an even more impact than on us adults. So let's see what happens, what the impact really is in our body when all this gets into us. One fact, I'm not having the slide right now here, is that the infertility rate went up tremendously since 1960 as well, from 7 to 8% back then to nowadays around 30%. It's really shocking, but it's very easily understandable. If we see the impact of heavy metals and all the chemicals on our endocrine system, our hormonal system, it's clear that it has also an effect on our cells, that both genders are highly affected and both gender cells are highly affected. So that's why the infertility went up. And on the other hand, birth defects go up. And an average newborn nowadays has about 200 different industrial chemicals and pollutants in their blood. And these include carcinogens and chemicals and heavy metals that are toxic to the brain, to the nervous system, and lead to an abnormal development. The numbers of ADHD and autism go up like crazy too. Where's my mouse? Here we go. The effects on the brain, these toxins induce neuroinflammation and oxidative stress. They disrupt the balance with the neuronal circuits and lead to nerve and cell damage or even cell death. I'm having trouble with my mouse. Okay, here we go. And that means it also has an impact on our mental health, not just the mental health of our little ones, but also our own. We see a lot of depression, anxiety, bipolarity, and schizophrenia. And you can Google it yourself to find out there is a correlation between our pollution, our internal pollution, and our mental illness. There is also a link of heavy metals like arsenic, cadmium, mercury, and lead to an increased blood pressure, and then in the long run to cardiovascular disease as well. And it's not me saying that. You can look that up. That's from the National Library of Medicine. Epidemiological studies demonstrated an association between heavy metal and organic pollutant exposure and the incidence of obesity and metabolic syndrome. And that's where we get back to what I spoke in the beginning, the age of human beings being obese, and often even morbidly obese, is going down and down. There are so many children now obese. It's pretty shocking. By the way, the age limit for the Ozempic shot is right now 12 years, and they are trying to lower that to 6 years, just as an info. Diabetes, heavy metals and diabetes, cadmium and arsenic are primarily accumulated in the liver, kidney, and pancreas once they reach the human body. And of course, that has a consequence for our body. And it means that sugar is going to be processed in our body in a harmful way. And the numbers of diabetes in the United States is pretty alarming too. It was 1960, less than 2% of the population was diabetic. And in 2024, today, it's almost 12% of people have diabetes. When we look at bad cells, of course, there is a big impact of heavy metals and other toxins like pesticides on the healthy development of our cells as well. And they can lead, like we said, to damage of the DNA, can mess up with our hormones and the cell communication, and interfere with or can lead to inflammation, can even alter the gene function. And again, it has a very high, there's a very high risk for especially children. But that's by far not all. You can think of any disease you don't want to have, and you put it into a Google search and add heavy metals, and you will always, I have never found anything that has no correlation. You will always find a correlation. And it's not just about these devastating diseases. We have these little nagging issues, like a little bit of fatigue or little mood changes, or all this little stuff that bothers us on a daily basis. That's also linked to our toxin exposure. So it's a fact that we cannot rid our world of the pollution. And what we also found out is that even good nutrition, and don't get me wrong, good nutrition is important and we can avoid some of the toxins at least, but it's still not going to be enough. It's important, but not enough. So it sounds devastating, but thank God, the good news, Avini Health has a solution for your body's pollution. And it's a rhyme. I like it. So let's look what happens when bad cells go good. Let's turn things around. Let's reactivate our natural healing. We were created perfectly. We are God's creation, and we were prepared to heal ourselves if we don't face any roadblocks and if our cells are clean and healthy. So reactivating our natural healing sounds kind of logical, right? Let's take the roadblocks away. Let's get our cells clean and healthy, and we are all good. But how are we going to do this? The traditional detox is not enough. It can stir up the toxins in our body, but it can't effectively take them out. So what we are looking at is Avini's answer. That Cell Defender. It's a cleanoptilolite zeolite with the trademark name Detoxolite. It captures, contains, and removes heavy metals safely and securely, as well as VOCs, PFAS, and EDCs, and all the other toxins from the body, easily, safely, and effortlessly. We have 15 clinical studies, which is amazing. Most companies are happy if they have one. Cell Defender removes toxins from the blood and lymph system. It also raises the body's pH, and therefore it supports the immune system and lowers the possibility for inflammation. It's purified, activated, and micronized in a 3 to 5 day and 34-step process. So far, over 10 million bottles have been sold, and in just the last 2 years, we already had over 1,400 testimonials. But before I go ahead, I'm going to give the word to Rick Deitch, our expert and scientist, and I let him talk.
Hi, my name's Rick Deitch. I'm a biochemist, and I'm a little different in the field because I'm both a nutritional and a pharmaceutical biochemist. What I want to talk to you about today is natural zeolites. So first of all, what are zeolites? So zeolites are naturally occurring compounds. They're formed usually in volcanic eruptions when the ash and lava goes into salt water, and over thousands and thousands of years through heat and pressure form crystalline lattices, a crystal shape that becomes a natural zeolite. So zeolites are unique for a variety of reasons. First of all, they form a cage-like structure. If you saw this crystal, it's got a lot of space inside. Now, not only does it have that crystalline shape and that cage-like structure, it also carries a negative charge. So because of zeolite's cage-like structure and its negative charge, it has the ability to draw to itself and trap within itself a variety of different compounds, primarily heavy metals. Now, we use a zeolite called clinoptilolite. Clinoptilolite, because of its cage-like structure and the pore size of that particular zeolite, just loves toxic heavy metals like mercury and lead and cadmium and arsenic. And it doesn't like the good metals like calcium, magnesium, phosphorus, sodium, potassium. It's really good at separating out the good from the bad. The reason is the smaller the metal and the higher the charge, the greater the affinity for the zeolite. So it just so happens that all the things that are bad for us are small with a high charge, and all things that are good for us are bigger with a lower charge. So even though clinoptilolite has this huge history of traditional medicine, traditional use in detoxification and things like that, we know there's problems with it. When I first started looking at zeolites in the 90s, I looked at clinoptilolite and I looked at some products that were basically capsules or powders that had the clinoptilolite in it, and I knew there were problems with it. The first problem is it was too big. The powder that comes out of a zeolite mine site is usually anywhere from 5 microns to 200 microns, like a rough granular sand. That's way too big to be absorbed from the digestive tract into the bloodstream. I came up with my first process, a micronization process. So using high pressure and centrifugation, I crush the zeolite over and over and over again to make it smaller and smaller and smaller, where my average particle size is smaller than a micron, and the smallest particles are as small as 390 nanometers, 0.39 microns. That's certainly small enough to be absorbed from the digestive tract into the bloodstream. Now, since I launched my zeolite, there's been dozens of competitors that came to market, and they all claim the same thing. They use my research and my studies to try to support their products. But in every one of these cases, we've not been able, in any single case, to identify zeolite in the bloodstream of people using those products. So we don't know if that even gets in. We just haven't seen it. The second problem with the natural zeolites is that they're dirty. Zeolites are really good at sucking up toxins and heavy metals. So even in the zeolite mine site, anytime air blows through that mine site and water flows through it, the zeolite's sucking up all those toxins and heavy metal. And if you don't do some sort of cleaning process, that's in the finished product. Now, I'm not saying they're dangerous because the zeolite is so good at holding on to them, it's not exchanged out into the body. But if it's already full of all those high affinity compounds, how much can it take out of your body? How much detoxifying can it do? So in our lab, we came up with our activation process. We use high heat and ultra purified water and natural acids to first drive off the volatile organic compounds and then to force the exchange of heavy metals for good metals. So the best analogy I can come up with this process is look at a kitchen sponge. So if the sponge is dirty, if it's full of stuff, how clean is it going to be able to get your kitchen, get your counters? But if you take it to the sink and you rinse it out, you clean it out, squeeze it out, now it's got tons of room, tons of space in it to be able to clean your kitchen. That's kind of what we do with our proprietary micronization activation process. And I have to tell you, no one else does this. Since I launched my zeolite product, my first commercial zeolite product in 2004, we've been knocked off dozens of times. And we've looked at every one of those products. And in many cases, we can't even find zeolite in the product at all. And when we do, it's something that hasn't been micronized or activated. In many cases, people say they don't have to activate the zeolite because it comes from a pure source. Well, there's no such thing. There's no pure place or pristine place left on Earth. When we clean out the zeolite, we actually measure what comes out of it. And in one batch, we saw some volatile organic compounds come out. We measured it, and it came back as diesel fuel exhaust, which means even the manufacturing equipment that's mining the zeolite is creating toxins that are being pulled into the zeolite. So unless you're doing a process like ours, an activation process, that stuff is in the final product. Now, our product has actually been around since 2004. It's the subject of 15 clinical studies, and 3 of the studies we actually wrapped up into one study that was published in a peer-reviewed journal, and that study is available. But we've looked at this time and time and time again for its benefits, and the 3 major benefits are pretty basic. It removes toxins and heavy metals from the body, therefore making the body healthier, and a cleaner, healthier body fixes itself. The second thing is through that activation process, we actually help stabilize pH, and we make the body more alkaline. And you want the body in an alkaline state, which puts it into an antiviral, antibacterial, anti-cancer state. And then lastly, it helps support and stabilize your immune system because of those other mechanisms. This product is something that when people find out about it, everybody wants it. Everybody needs it. Everybody on the planet, and this is the only place to get it.
And of course, that's not all. We have a few more products, not a ton, but a few very helpful. One of them is a, I think it's the next slide. Yes, it's a silver product. So that's going to take out everything that's living, while the cell defender takes out everything that's chemical or heavy metal. We have this immunity to modify the immune system. Pain relief, it's a homeopathic, very effective pain relief. Plus mind and vision, plus cardio, and a wonderful hydration product. And my favorite Avini fiber product. And of course, something for pets as well. We have the Plus Relief and the Cell Defender for pets, because our pets are also affected by the toxins and the heavy metals, if not more than we are. So Avini Health is designed to take out what doesn't belong in the body and substitute what we lack in the highest quality and the most effective way. And to repeat what Rick Deitch just said, a clean and healthy body can fix itself. So here he is, our formulator and CSO. He's a pharmaceutical and nutritional biochemist. He has 25 years development, and he's the category creator of the Detoxolite, his cleanup Tillolite Zeolite. He started his career actually in cancer treatment research and development. And at some point he thought there must be a way to help people better than with just chemotherapeuticals, because they don't just damage the bad cells, they damage all the cells in our bodies. That's how he then shifted over to be also a nutritional biochemist. Then we have Neil Roth. He's the CEO and a nuclear physicist. He has over 45 years of top executive positions in multi-billion-dollar companies, and he knows how to run stuff like this in a very efficient and very good way, so it's safe and secure. From that side, Doug Dickey is the biggest fan. If it's not me, it's him. He's the VP of sales and has 20 years of experience as CEO, CFO in fertilizer and plant nutrition company, invented high-tech, environmentally safe products. This is our facility in Boca Raton, Florida. It's a CGMP and FDA controlled facility. Everything is in-house, from manufacturing, testing, packaging, and distribution in the over 18,000 square feet facility. I would like to share a short testimony with you guys. It's just 3 minutes. I hope you have the patience.
I'm Marcy Littlejohn. I'm from Scottsbluff, Nebraska, and my story is amazing. I had a situation where my cells had literally gone crazy on me. The way I discovered my problem was extreme discomfort, like screaming, laying on the floor discomfort, emergency trip to the hospital, and diagnostics, everything they had to see what was wrong. When they found out what was wrong, all the horses were running in the wrong direction, and there were too many horses on my stage. And I was told that I would spend the last 8 weeks of my life and then expire. And that didn't seem like a very likely thing, not something I really wanted to do. So I just made a decision because they said that nothing they did would change the outcome. And I was looking for a better outcome than that. So quite simply, I used the tools that God gave me, and I was familiar with the Zeolite product. I started taking what we now call the Marcy dose, and I took 5 to 10 drops of product every hour on the hour, every waking hour. And so I had more than one stagecoach bringing the enemy in, and I attacked. And what I attacked with was all natural, the zeolite. And I also was blessed to use the very first of the mushroom that ever came out. And those two products combined were all I did to get my life back. That was 10 years ago. And on the day after they said I would not be at the Miss Nebraska pageant that my daughter was competing in, I got the best consult I'd ever had. 12 doctors in a room at one time, telling me all the things that had gone wrong in my body. And they were shocked because all three of my situations were unrelated and all classified as unsurvivable, each one by itself. So imagine how it was in that room as they're telling me the same thing that both of the preceding doctors had told me. But I said, what about the tests you did today? When they did their tests that day, there was no sign of anything. Not any indicators, including the same tests that they used to tell me my numbers were astronomical. My numbers were astronomically perfect and still remain that way. So I love playing with numbers, but those numbers are the best numbers I ever played with.
So yeah, I thought that's pretty impressive. Now the question, why is it person-to-person marketing? Because the products need explaining, just like I'm explaining it right now. It's not anything we could just pull from a shelf in a store. It needs some explanation. And also what's really important is that we don't want any external interference. We want the product to stay as perfect as it is, and we don't want anybody to have a say in anything of that. We want Rick Deitch to be the one to say it has to be like this, and it is like this, and it stays like that. And the third point is everybody benefits. We all benefit with health, and we all benefit in a prosperity way, and that's beautiful. So what's your next step? You want to learn more? Then please contact the person who invited you here. Do you want to expand your health span by becoming a customer, or do you want to become a member and expand your health span and be a blessing to others? Here's a quick overview how you can get Cell Defender and Nano Silver, the retail and wholesale price. And then there's also a wholesale starter advantage package where you can get started and be a wholesale customer for life. That's also an option to start with one of those packages. Some want to go real big, and that's fine too. And can I make a recommendation? Get your Cell Defender and watch yourself grow young and vibrant. You have nothing to lose, everything to gain, and a 30-day money-back guarantee. Nothing can go wrong. Thank you very much. I appreciate you for being here. Very much. Thank you so much. And please get back to the person who invited you here. All right, I'm going to stop sharing. Does anybody have a question? Which I keep on during the recording, otherwise I turn the recording off. If anybody has an important question, we might want to have it on the recording. Anything? All right, I'm going to turn it off.